Okay. So we're supposedly recording, and so we're going to post the recording as well if you practice some of these things. Okay. So let's stand up. So the program is a one-year program, and it actually is about 10 months because we start with a math camp that's mandatory. That's 3 weeks before the classes start. So for those of you familiar with our school year, which usually starts end of September, early October, our program actually starts in the beginning of September with a math camp. You can test out on the math camp, but you cannot just skip it. And so we're kind of unique in the sense that we've designed the program to fit the labor market needs in the Silicon Valley. So it's not like a traditional Masters of Economics program that is a little bit abstract and basically you take the same courses as PhD, but then you don't do the dissertation. We're also not an MBA program. We're much more technical and applied than that. And so we have a lot of training. So we have fundamental courses in micro, macro, graduate level, econometrics. But we also have very applied classes with real data. We have coding labs in R, Stata, and Python. Python is optional, but pretty much everybody is taking it these days because it's just a good language to know. And we also teach communication skills, job market skills. As Sheila mentioned, we have 2 quarters of the professional development seminar that helps you develop those skills, which not only help you get a job, but also help you succeed in the job you get. Because what's the point of getting a job and then being fired or quitting because you're not happy? So we're teaching technical writing skills, communication skills, solving problems, working with real data. And we have some very specific technical classes for that. So where do the students end up? Everywhere. So we have 2 main tracks, applied economics and finance. And you can kind of see our applied students end up in some of the, big 4, WC, Deloitte, Ernst Young, KPMG, consulting companies, or in the big tech companies like Amazon, Apple, or in the old types of companies like Toyota and Target. And our finance students go to banks, large banks, small banks, and Santa Cruz County Bank, but also Citibank. So kind of everywhere. Also, students end up in some government jobs. So here's an example. There's local, there's federal governments that students go to work for as analysts, or we need to update those lists because we had some good placement last year despite a terrible local labor market. And some stay in the university either as researchers or go on to PhD programs. So that's also a path. The type of jobs that people get, I just did the word cloud. You have financial analysts, associate management, software engineer, data analyst, engineer. So all kind of technical, usually pretty technical jobs, both in finance and big tech and software and just regular businesses. So we kind of are teaching skills that are very much in demand in that sense. So as I mentioned, we start with a mandatory math camp, and that is really designed every year specifically to serve the purposes of the courses that are taught in that year by the faculty. So whoever is teaching the math camp does a survey of people who are going to teach the courses in the following year and asking what kind of skills we need students to have. And so just do a refresher. So there are usually 5 topics covered in 3 weeks. And it's very fast. So some of that could be a refresher for you. Something could be new. We recommend people to kind of refresh their math or beef up on math before coming because it is a technical program. So then there are 9 5-unit courses, and I will talk about specifically what they are. So it's a full-time program. Students frequently, people who are interested frequently ask, can I keep my full-time job? The answer is no, not really, because the courses are in person, and it's a full load, and there's also homework and the discussion sections, and so some students are able to keep their employment at the part-time level, but we really need you to be on campus pretty much Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday all day, and some of Monday and Friday also. So it is a full-time program. So in addition to the 5-unit courses, we also have 3 labs, and these are the programming labs. And we are coordinating. So for example, Stata lab is taught in the fall when the first econometrics course is taught, and whoever's teaching that coordinates with whoever's teaching econometrics to make sure you kind of talk about the same things. And the same with the R lab in the winter. Python lab is no longer, we don't have econometrics course in the spring, so the Python lab is more of freestanding. And professional development seminar runs winter and spring quarter. And I don't know, Sheila, maybe you want to tell a little bit more about that.
Sure, thanks. We meet on Friday afternoons from 4 to 5:30, and starting next week, for instance, in this particular term. And we bring in, there's a professor, myself, and I bring in a speaker. So the speakers are often alumni who are out working in the field. They may be recent or just a few years back, so you're getting good experience there. They may also be people that have jobs available specific to this program that would be opportunities to hire. And then there are also professionals in the fields that are coming in with professional development workshops and training. So I do some of that, but we have a Silicon Valley Extension office, UC Santa Cruz does, in Silicon Valley. I have speakers coming from that who also have connections. We also put you in touch with other networking opportunities. And I'm here 5 days a week. I'm available on Zoom and in person, and my job is professional development for economics students. So I think you'll find the professional development portion of the program is really important, really rich, and the students really get a lot out of it. So thanks.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a unique thing, and I think it's very needed because it's something we don't really teach an undergraduate, right? You don't have a class that tells you, how do you actually work? You know, what is it like to take a job, you know? And so then you go and you have a first job, and people are expecting you to know what to do, but nobody ever taught you, you know, have your technical skills. And nobody ever taught you, like, what does it mean if you have a deadline? You know, it's not like homework, because, you know, you don't do homework, it's no big deal, but you don't deliver by deadline, there might be consequences. So,
and there's other really good things in it too, like we're gonna have a talk this year coming up on pay discrepancies, job scams. So you've been offered this great job, it looks better than you think, or it should be. Is it real? And how do you know? And what do you look for? And what are some key things to be aware of before you do run into a problem?
I never heard of job scams. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is very important. It's a big part of the program, and we just actually hired who's going to be teaching it, so it's going to be great. Then we have a capstone exam that students can take in one of the 3 tracks I already mentioned, applied economics and finance. There's also a general track, usually for those who want to do PhD, so you just take core finance and core micro, and you don't have to take all finance and applied. But usually most people take either applied or finance. It just kind of makes a little bit more sense, but we want to be flexible. Capstone exam is not a big deal. We used to have it like after the finals are over, and even sometimes after the, you know, the walking graduation part. But we decided that that creates a lot of problems. Some students need to take a job, some students need a graduation certificate for their visa. And so we're doing it now at the end of May, so that by the time you walk, you actually have graduated already, which is also kind of nice. Okay, any questions before I go into the weeds? That's really see people. No questions? Okay, the weeds. Okay, so sometimes, depending on faculty availability, the winter and spring courses get a little bit shuffled around, but generally the structure is the same. So this is this year. And it's usually the same every year in the fall. Everybody's taking the same class. So you don't need to decide ahead of time which track you want to take. You have the whole fall to decide before you go for winter classes. So you take micro, which is very different than undergraduate micro, finance, and applied econometrics. And then everybody's taking that. And so it gives you a little bit of a chance to decide, you know, sample a little bit of finance, a little bit of applied before you decide which one you want to do in the Stata lab. Then in the spring, in the winter, sorry, everybody is taking econometrics. But now we have an option. So if you're doing applied, you have to take 217, which is a designated master's class for econometrics in the winter. But if you're doing finance or general, you can also take an undergraduate class 114, which is the data science class that comes with its own lab. You still have to do an R lab, but there is a little bit of flexibility there. And everybody does professional development seminar. And then applied track takes public policy analysis and some other elective. It could be a finance elective or it could be elective from a large list of what else is available. I'll show you. Finance track, this year we have corporate finance and financial engineering offered in the winter. So there is no more room for an elective if you want to take both of those finance classes. But we have some flexibility, so students can talk to me and I can let them do what they need to do. And general track has to take financial engineering and some other elective because that's going to be the courses they do for the capstone. In the spring, everybody takes macro and professional development seminar, and a Python lab is optional. Then we have applied track takes micro applications and another elective, and finance track can take 2 finance courses or one of those and the elective, which is international financial management, financial institutions and markets, that's a class I teach. And the general track also needs to take micro applications and some other elective. Okay. It sounds like a little bit overwhelming right now, but we guide our students through, and you know, comes December, I start answering all these emails about which classes to take, and it always all works out. One thing to note for those coming from big schools like UCSD, these are designated master's program classes. You don't have to sign up early. There's always going to be room for you. There is no issue of like rushing to sign up for the courses. Everybody gets to sign up for those courses.
Talk about the cohort too and how they all work together.
Yeah, so yeah, since we're talking about the size, right? So there are 2 major differences, at least. These are 2 very important differences coming from undergraduate to graduate program. First is the class size. So you go from like 20,000 student or even 2,000 student school to a program that has 15 to 40 students and has at least 3 staff and a whole bunch of faculty involved in the program. So the, you know, staff to student ratio and faculty to student ratio is completely different, which means you get a lot of attention and you are expected to seek help and not just be worried about bothering, you know, like you have all the access you need to the faculty and support. We have a lounge. You guys here, maybe, do you have a key?
I don't have a key.
We can knock on the door, see if anybody's there. There's a lounge for our master's student, even 2, I think, right? Mm-hmm. 2 lounges for master's students. There's a kitchen they have access to, hang out with PhD students in the kitchen. They have access to the department when they need to, so there's plenty of space to work together, spend time between classes, and collaborate. In the classes I teach, I assign a lot of team homework so that you develop skills working in groups because nobody works by themselves in the workplace. Plus, it's a lot more fun. So that's the first difference. And also, there is no competition. Like in undergraduate, everything feels like competition. Grades are on the curve. you know, you need to be the best. Like when I write recommendations for graduate schools, they ask me, is it top 1%, 5%? So everything against other students. Here it's very different. There's no competition. Everybody's working as a team, and our goal is to make sure everybody passes everything and everybody graduates. And so we're all working really hard to make sure every single student is successful. So in terms of, you know, how do I have a committee that decides on admissions? How do we decide on admissions? We're trying to evaluate the probability that the student will be successful. That's really the only criteria, and it's not easy to figure out, but that's how we decide. If we think the student does not have enough technical background, you know, that's where we start being concerned about admitting a student who is not going to be set up for success. That's first difference. Second difference is that the level of material covered is like way different. So it's a lot more abstract. It's a lot faster pace, which is why I'm saying you cannot really have a full-time job, because it's not going to be like, you know, slightly more difficult senior level classes. It's completely different. Graduate level classes are much harder, much more reading, much more learning on your own. So it does take a bit more time to succeed in each of those classes. And it's important because when students come in the fall, especially those who took a couple of years off, and they're immediately jump into microanalysis, which is a proof-based class, finance, which is very math-dependent class, and applied econometrics, which is both math and proof-based class, a little bit of a shock. So, but most people, almost all people succeed anyway, so it just takes a little bit of time to adjust and realize that you need to work constantly to keep up. You cannot learn everything the night before the final. It's just not going to happen. So anyway, but students work together, and my philosophy is the harder is the class, the more you learn. The harder you work, the more you learn, the more satisfied you are with your degree at the end. What's easy is not so rewarding. This is our faculty teaching this year. All very nice, happy people, what can we say? We have a very nice department. So electives. So if you're doing applied, you can take any finance courses. If you're doing finance, you can take applied if you want, if there's room in the schedule. In addition, we actually have courses that are listed as possible electives for the program. So you can take economics courses, you can do stochastic differential equations and applied math. Haven't seen anybody choosing that. A whole bunch of computer science and engineering courses that are at least theoretically available. Some of those in practice end up being very hard to access for our students because they're required for the computer science degree. These are undergraduate courses, and they're always oversubscribed. So, and sometimes there might be also conflict with the schedule with the required master's courses, but definitely students have taken some of those courses before. There is an environmental study course, and there's a number of statistics classes that you can take. And if the class you want to take is not on this list, you come talk to me and we sort it out. There's a chance you can take it. We have master's students taking PhD classes in a department if the faculty that's teaching the class authorizes that. We already talked about this. So essentially, when you do a capstone, you need to answer 4 questions in 4 sections. Half an hour per section, 1 question. It could be a long question per section. Depending on the track, these are the courses, you know, that you answer. Okay, so you don't need to really think about that right now, but the way it's structured is you need to pass every section of the capstone, and if you don't pass, you can retake that section. You don't have to retake the whole exam. And for the courses that are taught in the spring, we are asking faculty to only cover the material from the first half of the spring, because you don't have time yet to study at the end of May for that. But we're trying to make it less of an onerous thing, just to make sure people have. It's good to recap what you learned throughout the year, so it's really not a bad thing. And okay, so what do you need to know for applying? So we have two deadlines, an early deadlines, February 28th. If you are ready to apply, do apply early, then you're going to hear from us early. So we're going to review applications starting March 1st, once we have those submissions, and we're going to make our decisions. But we understand some people have constraints of whatever type, and we do have another deadline, April 15. There's absolutely nothing we can do after April 15. If you are an international student, please do your best applying by February 28th, because the university has to process visa and stuff like that. And it does take time, and April 15th starts to cut it pretty close. But we are able to review all applications after April 15th. But we hope we get a whole bunch. Actually, there's like 10 applications in already. So financial aid. So the cost of the program is the tuition. So if you're a California resident, it's a resident tuition, otherwise non-resident tuition. Plus we have a professional development fee that's around $10,000 for the year. We do have financial aid, so we return a third of the professional development fees as financial aid to students. And that is merit-based, and it comes at the time of, when we offer you the admission, we also tell you how much financial aid we're offering. And the range is between $1,000 and $6,000. This year, I don't know, but last year also we were able to top off financial aid mid-year for a couple of students because they were just doing so much better than we expected. There's also some TA positions. The way TAing works in our department is that PhD students have priority, but if there's still positions available after PhD students are all been hired, they go to our master's students. And there's always at least 2. 1 year we had 8 in 1 quarter teaching. So these positions are definitely available. We also have students teaching in other departments. In the politics department, somebody was TAing for music department. So there are opportunities all around campus in addition to what we have, but we cannot guarantee that because we don't know what the demand and supply is going to be. It depends on a whole bunch of moving factors. So TA position pays your tuition and your salary. So it's a pretty good deal if it's available. You can fund your studies that way. We no longer require GRE, so if that's what's holding you back from applying early, don't worry, you don't have to. If you are taking GRE because you're applying to other programs, do submit the results. It costs you nothing, it is useful information for us. Because sometimes it's hard to compare grades in different classes. I see a hand from Jeff. You want to ask your question?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up that GPA/GRE. So let's say like we have like the minimum GPA accepted, but do you recommend us to take the GRE to increase our chances for admission into the program? Or would you say you would take more into a holistic approach for that rather than just exam-based?
No, so it's absolutely holistic approach. We look at the whole application, we look at the letters. GPA, we have admitted students with GPA less than 3.0. For example, like let's say you had, the student has pretty bad grades in the freshman year, for a variety of reasons. Also, it's COVID years when, but then really improves. And I also look through the transcript and I look at all the econ, math, stat classes that are relevant for the program, and I look at those grades. So, if you take something, I don't know, physical education and get a C, it doesn't really matter. But
intro to classical music or intro to philosophy, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So I look at the classes that are predictive of success in the program.
Okay.
And so then what we need to do then, if we're trying to admit somebody with GPA less than 3.0, I just need to write a little note to our graduate division explaining why is that we're deciding to admit a student, because technically 3.0 is a cutoff. But it's also grade inflation is so different in different schools. Like 3.0 from a UC is a much higher GPA than 3.0 from an Ivy League, right? So anyway, so it's definitely holistic look. So I would not recommend, I mean, if you want to take a GRE, you can take a GRE, but I don't think it's worth it, the time and the money that it takes if you're only doing to apply to our program.
Gotcha.
If you're already taking it because some other program requires it, then submit the results to us because more information is better. But it's also, we cannot put a lot of weight on GRE anyway because it would be unfair to students who didn't take GRE.
Right.
So not taking GRE is absolutely not a signal of any kind.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. That definitely helps answer my question. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Here or there? Okay.
Yeah, hi, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there an application fee or is the application free to submit?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I wish. So there is an application fee, which is like kind of high, 135, 150.
I think it was like 145.
Yeah, so it's like $150.
Yeah.
But if you are a US citizen and you qualify based on income, the university offers application fee waivers. If you are not a US citizen and you would like to have a fee waiver, we have some donor funds that we can apply as a department waiver, and we offer up to 10 of those department waivers. So then you just need to write to Econ Grad Coordinator that you want to have your application waived, and we'll try to get it done.
And another question, do you guys have an acceptance rate?
It's actually pretty high. I want to say 60 to 70% maybe from completed applications, right? So there somehow a lot more people start the applications than complete the applications. I don't know, we're trying to like survey and figure out what's going on with that, but it's pretty high for the completed applications.
And my last question, sorry, here is there going to be hybrid instruction? Is it mandatory all in person?
So yeah, so pretty much all the classes are in person with a couple of exceptions. So we need to have the university allow us to, like, we need to get university authorization for some classes to be remote. There is no hybrid anymore. So I think the Stata lab, I think is that remote now? I'm not even sure. I think some finance classes are remote. What I have done though, so you cannot plan on being remote. That's not gonna work. But in the class I teach, if there is, so I had, for example, one student had COVID and another was exposed to COVID. So I just connected informally on Zoom from the classroom to make sure those students could participate and they could even present their team assignments. So I think most faculty are kind of flexible on this, understanding that, we have campus closures because of storm, then transportation problems. So things happen, and usually it's very accommodating.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm currently based in Oakland, and Santa Cruz can have.
Yeah, you would be expected to be here mostly Tuesday through Thursday, I would say.
Fridays.
And Fridays in winter and the spring, so you might have to find a couch.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we have faculty who live on the East Bay. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I had a real quick question about the coding, and I was just curious, is my mic going through? Oh.
What's the question again?
Is my mic working?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. I was just curious what the expected level of like technical coding proficiency is for you guys. I noticed that like one of the electives was an intro to Python. I know you said Python wasn't mandatory, but I'm just curious at what you guys expect people to come in already knowing.
We expect nothing, actually. So most people come in with some programming experience, like at least conceptually, but no, we teach everything from scratch.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I had one question.
Yeah.
So, in total, in terms of like for each each quarter, how many units are you expected to take? Is it around like 20 or 17? What is it about?
Right. So it's basically 17 or 19 if you count professional development workshop, but I don't think there's like homework for that or anything.
No.
It's just a meeting once a week. The fall actually ends up being more because the math camp is counted as another 5-unit class, but it's not happening at the same time. So think of that as 17 units of actual coursework with deliverables.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, so one question people ask, is there room for research? If you want to work on a research project, the answer is absolutely yes. One of your electives could be an independent study with a faculty who is working on a similar area. Yeah, I'll tell you in a second. We have students who either individually or as a small group, 2 or 3 students, sign up for independent study with the faculty. It could be a 5-unit independent study and write a term paper. So there's an option for research. Question about Math Camp is basically an intensive math refresher covering all the topics like statistics, differential equations, matrix algebra, dynamic optimization that is needed to be able to complete the program successfully. And it's 3 weeks of every day. I think you have 3 or 4 hours of lectures every day. There's a homework every day. And there's even a couple of tests and the final. So it's the full 5-unit class is just offered in a very compressed way in 3 weeks before the quarter starts in the fall. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yep.
Besides the layers and transcripts, how much do extracurricular activities help, and which ones specifically?
So we're not looking for anything specifically. It's really a holistic view. I do look at extracurricular activities. If there is something, so let me put it this way. There isn't like one extracurricular activity you can do that will guarantee admission or something like that, or that will preclude admission. But again, it's a holistic view. And another thing I want to add, if there is something you want to tell the admission committee that doesn't fit into like a resume or a personal statement, there's a room in the application to just submit, call it whatever, some more things you need to know about me, document. We read everything. And so, there could be some circumstances, that, maybe explain bad grades in one of the years or something like that. So, or, something that doesn't fit in the standard format, you can always add another document for us to read. If you want to emphasize some extracurricular activity that you think matters to us, you can write a paragraph about it in a personal statement or something.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions? Yes, perfect timing. There is a website of the program. It looks something like this. It's going to, it's constantly updated. Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah, actually, if you go to the other page besides the admissions page, go to the main masters page, and there's links there for them to get help. So if you slow down or scroll down a little bit, if they want to get help directly from the advisor, they can click on those links there, and the coordinator will call them back or connect with them and get specific questions answered. So that's helpful.
True. Yeah, so you have application here, you have overview here, and that's the email that goes to a group of people. So somebody is going to respond to you, or you can email me. It's gбhale@ucsc.edu. I don't know how to go back to my slides. There. not gonna try to maximize them. Yeah, so you can email me or a Econ coordinator, and we'll answer your questions. Yeah, is there another question? Okay. Comments, concerns, compliments?
I have one last question for right now.
Yeah.
What if like you get accepted but would like to defer a year or two, like as you want to like save more money? Would that be possible?
Yeah, so it has happened in the past that somebody was admitted and then they accepted our offer, but then they weren't able to start. Then what happens, they have to reapply, and we usually waive the application fee. It's not free to us. So they have to reapply again. So we don't have like a way to postpone. So if you are not ready to start in September, you better not apply this year, but apply when you know you'll be able to start. There is no, applying with more work experience or school experience or life experience is not a downside. So, okay.
Yeah, so I can like get some more experience and and save up as well too. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it might help, but it's basically really depends on when you want to start. If you want to start in the September 2024, you apply right now. If you're not quite ready to start, then you don't have to apply. You can also apply, and then we offer you admission, but you say no, but then you wasted your application fee essentially if you already know that you're not going to be ready to start in September.
August.
Well, usually first week. Math camp starts like early September,
Oh, good.
August.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks before. I don't know the key dates, but it's 3 weeks.
End of August, early September.
Exactly, around before the Labor Day.
Yeah.
We got the, early start on housing search.
Yes.
Always good. Okay, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for attending. Feel free to reach out with any questions. And hopefully I'll see your application and get to know more about you.
Yeah, so we're all here to help. Just go ahead and send us a message if you have questions or you want help or you want to know a little bit more. It's a fun group of people. It's a fun program, and Math Camp might sound not fun, but it actually is fun because you're all in it together and you're all of, various skill levels as far as how fresh they are, but you get to see you're all in the same boat. And now you've got people to work with and work on similar things, and it really becomes fun because you get to meet everybody early before the quarter actually starts. And you get acclimated and you're getting your toes wet, and it's kind of like, okay, now
actually, students end up liking it because it's like, imagine it's an empty campus and it's just like whatever, 20, 25 of you spending 4 hours at least together every day. And then also probably doing homework together. Everybody almost does homework together. And so then you start the quarter already having a team, which is super nice. And usually it's like a whole team, and then there's some smaller sub-teams that we have very strong friendships, and a few married couples coming out of our program. So it's definitely a very friendly environment.
And we try to do some networking events at different times during the year. So there's other opportunities to participate. And like I mentioned, part of my job is to also send you information about opportunities that might be off campus, but maybe they're available to you, or might be things that you want to think about for the future, but I'm just going to keep feeding that to you. It might get to be too much when you're really into the math of it all, but you can take what you like and leave the rest, and that's the nice piece about the professional development.
Yeah, and I also get a lot of, in my, my life in and outside of economics, I come across a lot of people looking for somebody to hire, and I always forward this to current and past graduates. I have aliases for everything, and there are a few people that are working for either part-time or full-time through those kind of connections, because this would be somebody offering a job is somebody I know personally, which means I've advertised our students to them already. So when you apply, they're like, oh, Galina talked about this, are good people. So
just this week, she must have sent out 3 or 4 opportunities for economics students for jobs, people that she knows. So they come from nonprofits, they come from profits, they come for profits, they come from government positions.
academics.
We've been doing this a long time and there's a lot of connection. And we're hoping to get some more students from our previous years to work as mentors going forward with our students too. So this
I
is
have a quick question.
bringing back some recent graduates for those kinds of things too.
Andre, you have a question?
Yeah, is there a way we can connect with a current student or an alumni? Is that community available for applicants to access and maybe ask questions about their experience?
Yes, send me. I definitely can ask current students to talk to you. For alumni, there is a group on LinkedIn, right? That
Yeah, but it's not the LinkedIn
not
group
open.
is not open to
I
everybody.
see.
But between Galina and myself, we can connect you with some people. If you friend either of us on LinkedIn also, we can.
But also send me an email
Yeah.
describing what your professional interests are,
Okay.
so that I can match you with somebody who's in a similar boat. Maybe somebody who graduated like last year, because
Great, thank
they
you.
can talk to you about job market situation, stuff like that.
Yeah, we've got people in
Yes.
finance, we've got people at the Federal Reserve Board, we've got, just a ton of really good jobs from really good people
Economic
out there.
consulting.
Yeah.
I actually ended up working with one of the students from Applied Group, even though I'm a finance person, but we had a couple of projects going on summer.
Yeah.
You'll be able to put your email in the chat when you get a chance.
Yeah, you can do it right now.
Thank you.
When I connected to the screen, everything got so small. I can't see. Okay, it's gbhale@ucsc.edu. You can also Google Galina Hale. It's a pretty rare combination of first and last name, so it's just me. Okay, yeah.
What kind of courses do you guys like typically look at when we're applying, like economics wise, like econometrics or quantitative?
Macro, micro, econometrics, upper division. And then I look at math and stats, and if you have some programming courses, that look at grades on those. Understanding that if you take real analysis, which we highly recommend because it's a proof-based class, you take real analysis. If you get a bad grade, it's still okay because everybody gets a bad grade in real analysis. So if you passed it, I don't care with which grade, you're good. So even if you didn't pass, at least you tried.
And I think a reminder too, you don't actually have to be an economics undergraduate to go into the program if you have the math and the strength in that area.
Physics, engineering, usually those students do well in the program. Have to catch up a little bit on the intuition part, but yeah.
What math courses should we have taken to be successful?
Definitely calculus, some basic statistics, probability. Basically, if you have those, that's all right. The more you have, differential equations, dynamic optimization. If you haven't taken this, that's what the math camp is for. Yeah, and there's some books we can also recommend to read over summer, for example. So, a lot of information. Once the admissions are completed, a lot of information starts coming with all that stuff about books and courses and some online courses you can take. And for those who want to test out, basically we do it in the middle of the summer remotely. You tell me you want to test out, I send you the exam, I give you 24 hours, you send me the answers, I look at the answers, if they're good, you get a pass, which, then you're also missing out on all the social aspect though. And there's no punishment for not passing. So you can also just look at the exam I sent you and say, oh no, I better take a math camp, but that's absolutely
But if they test out, do they need to make up units somewhere? Or
no, you don't have to make up.
But that's just for math camp, right?
Just for math camp, you can't test out of anything else, no. Okay. Andrea, you still have a hand up. Is it a remnant or is another question?
That is a remnant. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap up then. Thank you so much for joining us on Zoom. Those who joined on Zoom, guys, for coming. Do have some pizza.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, the pizza and snacks is really nice.
Yeah, if you want to take some with you, please do, if you do.
Because
I can't take home full boxes of pizza, so you have to take some.
I'll
Please.
trade over.
Yeah.
Thank you.